Hi, this is Dia Damson, and today we are going to do a fall painting of trees. And let's do it. It's going to be bright, fun colors. What I'm going to do is I'll show you the paint that I'm using. It's one of those almost like a traveling kit. Everything that you need to use, it's included. Paint, your little mixing area, and also you have two brushes, and with those two brushes, I'm serious, but you can paint all these paintings with no problem, and you don't need to get extra brushes. So on I think YouTube, I have links to this, but I'm gonna try to put the link in Facebook for that too. And it's really cool because you can close it and take it places with you. And I already painted something earlier, so this is still wet. So what we're gonna do today is we are going to paint on a small paper, and I blocked myself 5x7 area, so it's frameable, so I don't have to play with sizes that will be difficult to frame. And we're gonna paint some fall trees. It's fall, it's a great season, I love it. So we're gonna play with the colors of orange and yellow. And the first thing I'm gonna do is kind of fast sketch and explain what am I doing. Trees. Now we're close to the trees, not super close, but close enough to give them a really fast perspective from bottom to top. So I'm going to do 3 trees, and one is going to be here. I know where my middle points are. One's going to be here, maybe they're going this way or this way, but one is here, and the third one's going to be much further away. So it depends if I make this a little wider, this shorter. It could be to the side, coming from the side, or the middle, or I can move this one a little bit here and place another one crossing behind the big one. So I'm going to start with a big trunk going sideways and upwards. So what are we having? It's thinning up as it goes further away from us. So I'm gonna do the same thing to this, but I'm going to bring it kind of almost that they're crossing on the side. I'm gonna have a smaller trunk right here, and here is why. If I make them all the same size, they're gonna seem like they are evenly spaced in front of us. But if I have one that is smaller, once we start painting and I make the leaves smaller, we're going to feel like some trees are closer to us than others. And this one is going to be a tiny bit smaller than that. So obviously we're closer to this tree, a little bit further from this, much further from the last tree. We're going to create some branches. Let's do some branches. And a lot of times when beginners start doing branches, they'll just come from the side and do little Ys. But some branches might be starting in the middle of the trunk, coming to the side or a little bit towards us, or even completely sideways or upwards, or some of them slightly down. Not too often tree branches are going in direction ground, because the trees is trying to grow up. So there is one. I'm gonna do one here, and I'm gonna split it. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I will figure out where my sky is gonna be showing between the branches on the top. So foliage will be on the top part of my trees, obviously, and there is thinner branches. So starting with thicker branches and going thinner because it's going away from us, so we don't see them as clear or as good or as big. Okay, so I'm gonna put one. That's one. It's gonna be from kind of behind. This one's gonna be like cut This one it's not, and one it's broken. Okay, so I think we're good. So most of the bottom part we'll see the sky. And why are we seeing sky down here? Because we are on the ground, so we're not looking at horizontally on the ground, we're looking upwards. So we are going to see tree trunks and branches. Okay, so I'm gonna clean up a little bit with my eraser. So the main colors that I need is reds, yellows, white, black, and ochre. And I'm almost done. So this is the cadmium red. I put it into the brown. I'm not gonna use too much brown. Let's get the black, because the black we will use. And when we are doing watercolor, the most important thing, obviously after paint, is your water. I will try to use one brush, and it's not a small brush. This is a 12, but it's round brush, so I have the tip, and if I need more to fill in more, I'm just gonna push extra with the bristles. Okay, so the first thing, I will be placing my sky, and I'm gonna get a little bit of water. And when I do the sky, let's get a little white too. So I'm washing my brush, getting a little white. So if you see how easy that paint just flows on the canvas, it's very, very light. I'm gonna start with the blue down here. I have to make sure my blue will be dry by the time I need to paint my leaves. And I might have to fill in some of the parts where the leaves are after I finish with the leaves, because there could be little parts of blue that needs to fill in certain locations. That's okay. Now, not like acrylic, this paint does not have good coverage, and what I mean by that is that if I want to put certain paint over another, it's not going to be as easy unless they're paints that kind of play well together. Okay, so there is that. Now the next part will be creating the tree trunk. So I'm going to go with the black. Now if I have a neighboring color that is still wet and I put the black there, it will sit through. So I'm going to try not to go close to areas where there is still wet, blue wet. Okay, some branches. And I'm just creating little spots. It's gonna look in the beginning almost like a Dalmatian. Moving my brush up and down and creating little dots here and there. And it's funny because if I don't use enough black, I can see how my black actually has blue undertone. This tree. Let's get a tiny bit of water here. This is a watercolor painting after all. Let's go this way, a few lines, because that's how the tree is actually have lines that are horizontal. making shapes, and that is all branches. I think the gardener is going to start making noise. It's always awesome when I'm filming. And a lot of times when my hands are a little bit shaky because I'm trying to be floating over the canvas, it actually, in this case, it is helpful because I don't want my lines to be perfect. So this tree is going to get more shadows than the ones on the front. So this guy on the front, the one that is the closest, will have the mostly white or lighter colors, and the other ones will have a little bit less and a little bit less. So that is something that we're gonna do here. Let's open this trunk a little bit here. Sometimes I go really heavy with my watercolor paints, and you're not supposed to do that, but switching between watercolor and acrylics, sometimes that happens. Even though I feel like I paint very, very light with my acrylics, comparing what you can do. I feel like I'm much heavier with my watercolors than I should be. So there's almost like Dalmatians, just filling. This is a very easy painting, so if you decide to do it on your own, just follow the directions on the video and I'm sure you're gonna do fine. And if you have any questions, you can always ask me, message. I'll be happy to answer all your questions. This tree trunk, or tree branch. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit of ochre with a little bit of black, so that's gonna give me kind of a, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go a little bit over the black and give it that brownish, not everywhere, not cover completely all my black, but I'm giving it the second tone, the second color. And always when you paint, think of 3 colors that you're going to be using in your object. You can always use more, but don't use less. And that's going to help big time. That tones it down a little, so now it's not so much like a Dalmatian. It's still out there. And the paint is still wet, so mixing is happening directly on the paper. This is so much easier if you do it with acrylics. That will be super easy if you do it with acrylics. Much easier than there's paintings that I would prefer to do with watercolor and paintings that I prefer to do it with acrylics. And this is probably one of them. But the principle will be the same. You're going to be doing almost the same exact thing, except if you mess up, you can easily fix it. And sometimes with watercolor, if the paint is still wet, you can clean your brush and take the wet, dilute a little bit, tone it down. So I'm kind of cleaning my brush, but not completely. And then I'm gonna give that transparent look. There is a place where I do not want it to go that strong, so I'm gonna take away. So I'm using a dirty brush to take some of that white away. I don't want to have it all white. So I'm loading my brush a little bit, washing it, and testing it on the napkin to see how clean it is, because I don't need it too dirty, but I don't need it perfectly clean. And a lot of times I can go around and steal a little bit of the color, surrounding color. I don't want the black, so I'm gonna take that one out. Still wet. I actually load my brush directly from my canvas area. So I didn't try to get my brush all straight. So if you see the bristles, they're split. That at this point it's helpful. Just clean brush. I'm gonna take a little bit of this and just make it travel. Perfect. Okay, so this is the branches, or the tree trunks with the branches. Super easy. And now I have two colors, or actually three colors that I'm gonna use. I'm going to use the cadmium yellow, red. I'll probably use two reds. So the cadmium red light and cadmium red dark. And I'll show you the difference is actually pretty huge. So this is cadmium dark and this is cadmium red light. I'm gonna use the cadmium yellow and some white for the trees. And the white's gonna be kind of like tone it down. The white doesn't really go white. So on areas where I have less yellow, I am gonna go and use some of the, so making it a little bit orangey, and I'm gonna start applying leaves. So my leaves will be little pushes down on the brush, and because it's round brush, if I push with the brush, it creates a leaf. So if I push in different directions and softer or heavier, it's gonna give me different sizes leaves. So you can change always your brush, or you can just leave it the way it is. So I'm going not to fill in the whole area with the orange because I want some white. And I'm gonna leave some space in between because I'm gonna add, instead of mixing my red with yellow, I'm gonna add pure red. The closer to the top, the smaller your little brush strokes should be, because you will have little leaves that are going farther away. So obviously the ones that are closer down here, we want to push a little bit more, and the ones that are far away, we'll push extra. Now a lot of times when we start putting a little brush pushes or any brush strokes, and we're limited to our hand movement. So in this case, I can move my canvas very easily around, not to get too much into a pattern. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit of the orange here. and my yellow is still, orange is still pretty wet in certain areas, so they're gonna mix, but that's okay. So you see how I'm turning my canvas around. Otherwise, I'm gonna have all my leaves pointing at the same direction, and that's way too much of a pattern. Let's get a little smaller on the tip. And I'm still leaving space because I want some of my yellow to end up in certain places. And if I go over some of the red, it's actually gonna look really, really cool. Or even some of your branches, it's totally fine. It's watercolor. And what I have done before is I have done a painting with watercolor and then pulled my acrylics and add some of that in my paintings, and it still works. As an artist, you have all the freedom to do whatever you want. And yellow and blue, especially in the world of transparent colors, it's going right away to give me green, but it's okay because maybe some leaves have not completely transferred into orange yet. And I grew up in a place where we had full-blown 4 seasons, so there's always late bloomers. And some trees don't turn all their leaves orange at once, obviously. Okay, I'm stilling some white, and I'm going in some areas with the white and brushing it. So this is a total beginner painting that you can do for your home. You can paint it on any surface. You can do wood. You can just paint it on paper and frame it. You can paint it on a tile. So by me just going with the white, I'm adding just lighter yellow, not really white. So, like, this painting will be really, really awesome if you can just pile the paint and use maybe a knife, like a painting knife. Let's get a little red here. It just seems like it needs a little red. What happens when we use red and white? Pink turns, our red turns into pink, so that's not necessarily something I want right now. I'll take a little bit darker here, red, with the lighter here, and give it a little more warmth there. That darker color has a little more coverage than the lighter color. Brush around, wash the brush, some orange and just add orange on top of some of those lighter spots that I did with the white. So now I'm adding more of a layer. Okay, so I'm gonna use water on my brush just to add. I need some more of that. And I'm somebody who likes to layer and have fun with the paint. Okay. Add it to the red where I didn't want it to. Okay. Going over some of the red, which just tones it down, so it becomes like another orange. And it's pushing down with my brush in different directions just to give it more unpredictable brush strokes, not to be all in the same direction. Let's give a little white. I'm going to go a little dots because I can, representing maybe smaller leaves. Or just breaking some of the patterns that I have created. I think. Strokes, which are kind of little dabs. And again, I don't want to dot it too much because then whatever I'm trying to undo, I'm overdoing it again. Back to the trunks with the black, so that always happens. We're always gonna end with whatever we started, which means the sky. And I'm gonna just give a little more black here, black here, and of course I have to be careful for my paint not to travel into my leaves. Those things will stand out even more. When you're starting with a plain canvas, anything that you put on it will stand out. But later on, when your canvas is filled in, the areas that you started with are all of a sudden pretty muted. So there is my tree going up. There's a branch right here. And another one. Let's give it a little more. Little guys hiding behind. Still can hide partially. We don't have to expose everything. Now, all of a sudden it seems a little better. go to my blue, which was mixed a little bit with white. And just finish up filling in, making sure I don't have too much white space. I have just space left, not even. Some of the lines, I'm going to break them. If I see a straight line, like right here, I'm going to make sure there are no straight lines. I see a little white specks, and I'm gonna add a little bit of sky right where I see those specks, which is great way to make it, to give it a little bit extra three-dimensional look. Just cleaning up. Just cleaning up. I don't want to get too wet because I have wet orange, and my orange and blue, when they mix, they're gonna create a color that I don't want to use too much of it. I already have a few green leaves. Close to being done. So what I like to do with, this is where we are now. What I like to do with watercolor, and I can always do this after I scan them, but it looks so much better if I go in and I actually give it a border, and it's not perfectly even, but even if it's not perfectly even, it still frames it in a way. And then I can take my acrylic paint and clean up around it, or when I scan it, obviously I'm gonna crop what I don't need, like little areas where I got out of it. But signing my name, and I'm gonna do it right here. And this is it. We finished our fall little painting of trees, and it's for beginners for sure. Intermediate or advanced will just make it better and better. So I hope you have fun with this, and if you like my videos, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks. We'll see you soon.